Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. And when we say education through entertainment, we mean education through entertainment. I think today is going to be wildly entertaining. At least I hope so. James, do you care to introduce yourself a little bit about who you are and what you do, sir?
Okay. I'm James Wagner, and owner-operator here at 5 Star Structures in Bristol, Tennessee. We're about 2 or 3 miles from the state line, less than a mile as a crow flies that way, across the ridge. And I'm a dealer for Cherokee Structures out of Chuckey, Tennessee, and for Kaufman Gazebos out of Clark Range, Tennessee, and for a couple of carport and garage companies as well.
So busy. You got a lot going.
Try to.
Yeah, well, that's good. You're very welcoming, and I say people who have charisma can sell all day long. And you have charisma from the moment we got here. You've just been fun. You and Beth are.
Oh, shucks.
You guys are fun. You're a blast to be around. There's no way a customer wouldn't want to come in here and buy a shed from you. There's no way. I would love to work with you every day because you could not have a bad day and be around James Wagner. There's just no way you could. I love this guy already. So tell me, James, how you got into the shed industry. How did this come about? Did you just happen upon it?
It came about because for a while there I was jobless and go to church with some folks at Greene County Mennonite. If you're ever in Greene County and on Sunday and need a church to visit, come visit with us. Well, I'm not a member there, but I've been a long-term visitor. But some of the folks at the church there, Dean Wangard, primarily one of the primary owners of Cherokee Structures, offered me a job in the shop doing interior finish work. I'd had some experience in that, and I enjoyed that. And I like to think I'm at least somewhat good at it, but discovered I was too old for that. My knees and my hips are shot, so I moved to sales and worked with them in sales out of their sales office for about a year and a half. And then October of 2020, I believe it was, I left there. In the first week of November, I opened up this lot and became a dealer.
So you've been at sales for about 2 years? Or?
Shed sales, 4.5 years of shed sales. I've been selling stuff since I was probably 5 or 6 years old.
So tell me a little bit about your story. What before sheds? You've talked to me a little bit about a few things, and I know they're if we open it up, we're going to open Pandora's box on some of these conversations. But I want you to take as much of the mic and feel free to. One of the things that you told me immediately is that you are a beekeeper, a very seasoned beekeeper. So not just like doing this on the side. You're very skilled in beekeeping. Is that fair?
It's like any other endeavor. You learn. The more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know anything. Yeah. And it's certainly that way in beekeeping. It's that way in the shed industry. There's always something else to learn. That's why I enjoy reading, like the having a senior the
Shed Builder.
Shed Builder magazine, and listening to there's some little podcast somewhere. What's the name of that thing?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, Shed Geek podcast.
Probably doing yourself harm there.
That I frankly learned a lot from, and that's been a big help to me.
I appreciate that. We've had the luxury and the privilege, really, of having a lot of folks who've come before us that's done this for a long time, Shed Builder included. The pathway that they've set for us to even have this opportunity. And with technology always growing, having sort of a digital presence in the industry made sense. And but it's really cool to get a lot of guys on here and gals and talk about like their experience in sales or manufacturing sheds or hauling sheds or whatever it is. And not only can it be entertaining, I think, but it can be educational in that they can say, well, I either didn't know that about that company, or it changes my perception of them. because you come on air and you kind of you get a chance to sort of control the narrative, I guess you'd say. That's the speech I've been going with. But yeah, it really is. So tell me about bees.
Bees. Wow.
You said
you here for
you did you
how many
did
hours do we have?
You became like a master beekeeper through a course at University of Tennessee.
Correct. Yeah, I was in the first master beekeeping course that was ever held at University of Tennessee in Knoxville under Dr. Skinner.
So what would have been sort of the driving force for that?
I've always believed no matter what I do, what anybody does, that they should take the approach of, one, if it's something you want to do, pray about it first. Seek the Lord's guidance in all things. And then if he wants you to do it, then it's worth doing. And if it's worth doing right. And if it's worth doing right, it's worth doing right the first time. And it's worth learning about. So just with the bees or anything else, my approach was to learn as much as I could about it, overlearn, if you will. And same with sheds. I read the magazine, listen to the podcast, and even go through the propaganda, the literature from the manufacturers of the components, the supplies and all that. I look at those things, say, what could be this, but, could this possibly make a difference there? Or if a customer has comes up with a situation, hopefully I can offer an alternative that they have not even thought about. This is like, as an example, just earlier today, I had this couple looking at, they want something to convert to a chicken coop. The chicken coops we have are too small for their needs. So we looked at some alternatives, and then in the process of looking at price and add the taxes and all of that, I asked them about the agricultural exemption card. They had never heard of that. And so looked up the way for them to make an application for that in the state of Virginia, because we get a lot of customers from Virginia because we're so close in proximity. And that's going to help them potentially save hundreds of dollars a year. And
not just in the shed.
Not just in the shed, but
taking
feed,
that, right.
Stocked, anything.
So you added value. For you, it was a value add.
That's right. It's a value add.
Is that sort of your approach to selling sheds here? What's sort of like your experience been for 3 years? What do you take away from it after 3 years?
When the customer comes here, my number one goal is not just to sell a shed. I want to find out something about that person and find out what they're looking for. And so I tend to ask a lot of questions. How are you using this? What's your primary purpose for the shed? Well, we're going to put a lawnmower in it. Or we got a storage building that we're paying rent on that, we just want to get our own shed. Okay. Do you have a lot of things in boxes and totes that you want to keep but you don't get to very often? Well, if they do, then I'm going to steer them toward a high wall barn, for instance, because you got the overhead storage. Just open-ended questions like that, and that I want to find out more about them and what they need so I can help them decide what would be best for them, and then find out something that's best for the customer and give them options. And I think most people appreciate that.
Even that's one of the things that salesperson Beth that works here with you, she said that right away off camera. She said one of the things excuse me, one of the things I really appreciate about you, James. She said you don't encourage me, and I noticed that you don't go out and try to sell right away. You start asking questions. You really want to find out how to help the customer. It's been said that sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. If you really believe in your product and you really believe in that it can solve it,
which I do,
you're trying to just transfer that enthusiasm and dream with them, really.
Right.
I
actually encourage customers to go to other dealers. Go to other lots, look around and see, because I have full confidence that I have the highest quality product. Otherwise, I wouldn't sell Cherokee sheds. I have full confidence in that. And maybe they are looking for something cheap. They don't care about quality. They're just wanting price. Well, most of the time we can beat them there too, but if not, that's okay. You know, because they'll remember that. Maybe they'll know somebody else, or maybe when that, how's the saying go, the pleasure of low price is gone long before. Everybody's heard that saying, and I've had people like that with chicken coops, and that's, oh no, we could never pay that much for a chicken coop. And they come back, you know, a couple of months later and say, well, you know, we went down to Tractor Supply and bought one of those chicken coops. It was a lot cheaper, and it was too cheap, and so we're back to buy quality, because it falls apart even when they're trying to build the thing. And so I think in the long run, that does better for the business if you find out what they need and just be honest with them, and help find a product that fits their needs and not what you want to sell.
Oh, that's a mouthful right there. Help them find what they need and not what you're trying to push. I think we can get this right. Thank goodness for Google, right?
Right.
Because we can. So Ben Franklin, the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten.
That's the one.
That's a one that stands the test of time. I've said this 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. No one ever comes in and says, give me less quality. They only say, give me less price.
That's right.
You know, everybody wants a deal. I understand that because everybody's trying to save. But no one ever says, all this stuff you got in here, charge me the same amount, but I'm going to need you to take some of these 2x4s out.
Right.
Just doesn't work.
Nobody says that.
Nobody says that. They all want quality.
Or take off that quality LP smart siding and put up some masonite or just some cardboard walls or something. Nobody does that.
No, nobody wants less quality. So you found the key to sales in terms of transferring the enthusiasm, dreaming with them. I used to always love the idea of just kind of letting them go on a rant.
That's right.
What do you plan to use this for? And then just step out of their way. Well, you know, we've got this and we're wanting to put that in there. And then you just talk through it with them. Well, I mean, that makes good sense. Your four-wheeler could fit right over here in this corner. You want me to get a tape measure? We can just check because I want to make sure. Let's make sure it fits through. Let's open up the doors and make sure it's going to fit through the doors. Do you have the size on that? You know, just little things like that. When you start to envision with them,
right,
they begin to see it in their backyard.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
And many years ago when I was in another industry, it was like this, that if you ask them a question, an open-ended question is always best. And especially you've got the husband and wife there, and they're starting to dialogue. And they're answering the question and bouncing off each other. Basically, you ask a question, and then you shut up. Mm-hmm. And then let them do what they'll dialogue. They'll dialogue and then figure out, yeah, he's right about this. We need this. You know, maybe we ought to take this option, or, you know, look at this as an alternative.
Well, I find that sometimes you get to be the hero too, as a salesperson. Occasionally, you're seen as the information gatherer, the expert on the product. I've been married for 23 years, almost 24 years. Yeah, and then let's see, we dated for 4 years prior. So I'm smart enough to know that my wife knows that I don't know everything. And she'll tell me from time to time, believe it or not. But I remember whenever we went into Lowe's one time and we was looking for a washer and dryer. And I know she loves it when I tell this story. And I said, this is the one we want. I walked right over to it before I knew it. Didn't take very long to figure it out. I said, this is the one we want. This is definitely the one we're going to get. So let's talk to the salesperson. We go through every one of them. It feels like we're there for an hour. I said, if you were going to buy one, what would you buy? What's the one that you would get? And he takes her over there and shows her the first one I pointed at. And he says, this is by far the best one. This is the one that you want to get. And she looks at me and she's like, yeah, I think I kind of like this one. So they're doing what they do already as husband and wife, right? I don't know, you've probably done this. I know we've done this. Next thing you know, the sales guy's coming out to try to sell you a car because you just whipped in the lot because you saw something that caught your eye. Same way with the shed. And then the next thing you know, they're coming over and everybody's grumbling, oh no, here comes this guy. Or, maybe some people are excited, but generally speaking, you do the speech, right? Back and forth. If you go in to talk, you're like, well, who's talking? Am I talking? Are you talking? Who's going to talk to him? We got to get this straight. We don't want him to sell us something because we might actually buy something that he wants. So they're already like geared up to like prepare against all of your, magic sales tricks. Yeah. So how do you put them at ease? How do you, I tend to think that you and Beth do a good job at that.
Well, it's we probably see it all night, come up with little things that you can do. One thing that pops to mind immediately is many times if they're like that, I'll go, well, tell you what, we kind of got an idea of what we might want. Why don't we go into the office and let me work you up a quote? I'll print it out for you. You can pick the colors you want. We can put the doors where you want, the windows where you want, any of the features you want, take the ones that you don't want. And we'll just put them in there, and then I'll print it out, and it'll be an itemized quote so that everything's line itemed, and you can take it home and pray about it, discuss it, and if you want to make any changes, just call me, and we can make those changes. I can email you an updated version of it, and if there's something you want to take out, you can see what the price is and how much it would save. The way we got to knock off X dollars, then look for the things you want to take off. And that usually sets them at ease because then they think, okay, he's not going to try to get a check out of us today. He's going to let me take this home and sleep on it. And I think that really sets them at ease. And that's just one thing that I do with nearly every customer. I don't try to sell them the first time. I don't try to. I don't want to. I want them to make sure that they know what they want and that they're ordering what they want.
And we talked about that. A lot of times they just don't know.
That's right.
What that is.
That's right.
How do you walk them through that stage?
By asking the questions, what is the primary purpose of this building? Is it to store stuff, or is it to store a motorcycle, or a side-by-side, or whatever they call these things, Okay, how big is this thing that you want to park in there? The stuff that you're storing, is it in boxes or totes? Do you have a lot of those? You have a lot of holiday decorations that you want to get to once a year. Questions like that help me to steer them into one style of building. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, even then, I'll give them a quick 1 or 2 sentence rundown of the different styles that are available: the high wall barns, the cottage barns, the studios, the Quakers, what have you. And I'll say something along the lines of the high wall barn, just about the name, actually has a shorter wall, but it has a fabulous loft space. So if you have a lot of junk, fine collectibles and memorabilia that you want to store in there, then that might be the option to go. But if you don't have a lot of that, you just want to put in your lawnmower, your motorcycle, the gas cans, weed eaters, that type of thing, then maybe a cottage is the way to go. You got taller walls, you got shelf space, and it's a little slightly lower in cost. So it just depends on what to go. But I won't know that until I ask them the question.
Yeah, it's definitely about being curious. That way you can add value. For me, whenever you take that approach, do you feel like it helps to have inventory on the lot? Do you feel like more inventory is better? Do you think that's necessary in order to capture more sales, or do you think that you're able to move past that with limited inventory? What's your thoughts on that?
I think you need to have, certainly in my case and on my lot, I like to have an example, at least one example of nearly everything. For instance, a ramp. Have you thought about a ramp? Well, yeah. Okay, let me show you two different types. And this plain Jane wooden ramp comes in 4 basic lengths, and here they are. And then we got this other aluminum ramp that is much more expensive, and I'm showing it to them, and wow, and I've sold a lot of ramps just that way. Or I'll take them into a high wall barn, and I'll show them, for instance, a wraparound loft, how you can vastly increase your usable storage space in a much smaller footprint by doing that. So, okay, let's look at this. Take a good mental look at this, and now let's go to this next one, like over here, and it may be exactly the same thing. Only I'll say, you see how much lighter is it in here? Yeah, what's causing that? We'll step inside and look up, and we've got what we call the ridge light, the polycarbonate skylight, for lack of a better term, along the ridge, and I can sell them. I can tell them about that till I'm blue in the face. I'll never sell one, or rarely sell one. But if I can show them that, then I can make the sale, typically. And that's true whether any of these features. Most of my buildings that I sell have some kind of an upgrade onto them. And you got a lot of dealers that I've met that they want to sell a building off the lot, and there's something that's inventory, the stock. Because frankly, you get paid faster for that, right? I've taken the opposite approach. I don't care if I get paid much, much, much later. If I can find out what the customer wants, and more importantly, what they need, and steer them toward that, and then bring them into the office and show them the color options, show them the trim, the roof options, and then do a quote, and we can put the doors where you want them, the windows where you want them. They're going to be a much happier buyer, and they're going to give me more referrals. And that's where, and repeat business, So I think that's where the value is. I would much rather have a happy customer and make the money later than I have a satisfied customer and make a couple of bucks today.
At iFab LLC, our passion is welding, fabricating, and design. That's why in 2015, we began to commercially market our product to the shed, portable building, and mini barn industry. Our product is primarily used to build trusses. Our truss saw system cuts boards in one motion, and our truss press system installs and presses the gusset plates to a finished truss. We custom fabricate jigs that assure perfectly symmetrical truss setup without error. We also have other products designed to help your shed builder increase quality, efficiency, and save money. Our precision door tape will build your custom doors square every time and easily adjust to build any door. For products like these or other custom fabrication services for your barn shop, visit ifabllc.com or call 563-422-7496 or simply email us at ifabllc@gmail.com.
What is your relationship with, how is your relationship with your builders and with your haulers? You've come into this, you've been at it 3 years. There's a rumor, I'm sure it's true, that some dealers tend to overpromise to get the sale, with their hauler, and next thing you know, it creates a bad situation for the hauler.
And for myself, I think that's where I'm kind of an advantage over most dealers that I've met quite a few for different companies and, several different states. I'm at an advantage because I've been on the other side. I've worked in the shop. I've had a chance to work in the sales at the manufacturer's sales office, and I've seen the other side, so to speak, and what can and what can't be done or shouldn't be done. Whereas sometimes dealers might not realize that this is not right. Oh yeah, you can buy this building. We'll have it to you in 3 days. You can't promise them that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the hauler.
Yeah.
That's outside of my control. And so I'm just honest with the customer. I said, that is totally outside my control. Typically, and I'll never say it always is, I say it would typically, within a week to 2 weeks from the time it's built, you can get it. Or if you get a shed off my lot, typically we can have it delivered within a week to 2 weeks. Now, sometimes we can work magic and get it in less. Sometimes, because of weather, it might be longer. But I have a wonderful relationship with our transporter, which is K-Man Transport, out of Limestone, Tennessee. And just a good company, good owners. The drivers are absolutely fabulous. And if for some reason I was to transplant to another place and start all over, I would want to beg, borrow, or steal one of their drivers or two of them to come there too, because they're that good. I just find their skill level I'm always amazed at what they can do.
What a great testimony to work alongside the builders and the haulers closer. So I think a lot of companies sometimes struggle with that. We watch some of the Facebook pages, social media pages, as we can. And sometimes those questions just come up, or you see a complaint come up. And I think to myself, do they know? Do they know the frustration that you're having? Because I've never been able to solve anything that I didn't know, was a problem. So I always encourage people, go in and talk to them. Most people are more reasonable than you think. It's kind of like the news. Everybody, it's gloom and doom on the news. And I'm like, wait a minute. It doesn't feel like gloom and doom when I actually talk to people. It only feels like gloom and doom on the news. So
right.
I find that whenever you actually sit down with somebody face to face and have a conversation, it puts to rest a lot of rumors or assumptions. And it just, I don't know, it's always worked better for me. Just sitting on a Walmart bench, I'll just start a conversation with somebody. Usually you'll find something really quick within common with them, just a common point to have a discussion. And you're like, I don't know, I think sometimes it sounds worse than what it is. So I always ask people, have you talked to them about that? I'm sure your sales manager has or will address that. I think if you go in with a mentality and a mindset of it can be done or it can be accomplished, or we will do that, we will figure that out, as opposed to just, I hate to say nagging about it. I'm not trying to get any enemies here today, but I tend to feel like that solves the problem more.
Right.
Tell me, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give somebody in sales, being in this 3 years now and having the background that you did in building, manufacturing side? But what would be the best piece of advice you could give somebody that you didn't know when you started? Tough one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You can give multiple if you want.
From sales perspective?
From the sales perspective. What do you wish,
as a dealer?
Yeah. What do you wish you would have known that you didn't know and that would help someone else?
Well, so I was saying product knowledge, but I kind of knew about that because I've been in sales before, and I think product knowledge is extremely important. But as pertains to shed sales,
is there anything in particular that's helped you the most? Like whether it be software or e-commerce or learning?
Mine is just, the thing that helps me most, I guess, we kind of touched on it with the asking open-ended questions of the customers. I try to develop a rapport with the customers or the prospective. Let's call them prospective customers because they're not a customer yet. Right. Just people that walk in my lot. try to ask questions about not only their building needs, but about themselves personally. So, Shannon, you from this area originally? Well, no, I came from wherever. Or they may live right down the road. Yeah, I was just born right down. Really? Did you graduate from Kettering High School? No, I graduated from Central. Really? Yeah, I did too. And yeah, in fact, here's some yearbooks. Or, what year did you graduate? Anything to establish some common ground with these people. So, do you get to go to church anywhere? Yeah, I got over to XYZ church. Really? That's great. Yeah, I got a friend that goes over there, Billy Bob. Billy, yeah, I know Billy Bob Smith. Yeah, he's a great guy. So that you have common interests, maybe some common friends. It's a way of basically getting a referral without getting a referral, right?
Yeah.
It's just general rapport. That's the most helpful thing to me personally. And I don't know that would work for everybody. I don't know.
Has anything surprised you? Have you learned something that you were surprised to, I'm better than I expected in that particular area of sales, or I have a weakness there where I want to learn more, or where I need to study better? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Not immediately. But I'm constantly reminded, as we touched on this earlier, that the more I learn, the less I realize that I know. You never know everything, and so I'm always trying to learn. And that's listening to the podcast and the magazine and the shed convention. And I would say this: if you're a shed dealer and you've never been to the shed show, shame on you. Be there next year or be oblong. You'll learn so much. Even though those things are geared mostly toward manufacturers, builders. As a dealer, there's stuff to be learned and picked up. It just little nuggets here, little nuggets there, and you get by getting a much bigger picture of this industry, you can better serve your customers because you kind of understand what can be, not necessarily just what is, but what can be, And
you can talk to other dealers, other manufacturers, and that's where those nuggets come in, would you say?
Right.
Like it's not always about competing. Right. I mean, we can't sell a shed. One guy can't sell a shed to everybody anyway.
And I've learned, I mentioned the owners of Cherokee Structures I'm a dealer for. Dean Wagner has been absolutely invaluable to teaching me so much over the years, and Ed Koblenz and Dan Smucker, other partners, and they've taught me so much, just being around and watching what's going on. The guys in the shop when I was there, if I was to hire somebody else today to come and help me sell sheds, I would really want them to try to go work in the shop for a couple or 3 months. Go over there and work in the shop for just 2 or 3 months, and then come back here. I think that would be so helpful to everybody. I think there's probably too many people that are selling sheds that have never seen the building process. At the very least, whoever your vendor is, ask your vendor, hey, can I come hang out at the shop for a day or two and just observe? I can't imagine that they would say no. Talk to your hauler and say, hey, can I ride with you one day? I'm not expecting you to pay me. Just let me ride, and I'll help you. Take a pair of gloves and pitch in and help them set those blocks. And you'll see what they have to go through and what they can and what they can't do. Enos Kaufman, that owns K-Man Transport, is our transporter. I've ridden with him a time or two. Oh, wow, did I learn a lot, And that really helps me here. And then you hear horror stories of where some dealer has sold this building that can't be delivered, or it was a nightmare for them to deliver, or something in the build process just doesn't jive with what they told the customer, or even promised the customer. I try not to promise anything, except what I know is absolute fact and what can be done. Everything else is a variable. Like I say, we generally can get it delivered within a week to 2 weeks, generally. But there are exceptions, weather, things happen, life happens. And so I just try to be as honest with the customers as I can on all those things. But then learning the different facets of this industry will help you, and that's the shed show and going to the shop to watch them being built, knowing who the builders are, knowing the builders personally, at least meeting them and speaking with them, knowing your drivers, speaking with them.
You can't go wrong by educating yourself more, right, by going to these events and not only industry trade stuff. I mean, I know they're having shed hauler events all over. Go to those. The barbecues or things like that. You still get to know, even if your hauler's not there, you get to know. But it builds a camaraderie. It sort of builds a value and a network. I mean, networking works.
The networking, right?
It works when you use it. But it increases your information, and I love, I remember hearing this so much in my life. The more you know, the more you don't know.
That's right.
And that just
and even building a camaraderie and a network with other dealers, and that's where most industries have some kind of an association, for instance, and there's not a shed dealers association. It doesn't exist. I really wish there were.
Yeah.
Because, I try to talk to some other dealers every now and then just to learn, say, what are you doing? How do you do this? Or they'll ask me, and get some guidance on things, and hopefully sometimes I can help them, and I think something like that would just be of tremendous value to dealers. I mean, most of the things I've been involved with in selling over the years, there's been some kind of a group that, and you've talked about on the podcast before, we're not really competing. Somebody said once something about, basically they mean the pie gets bigger. Something about a tide in boats.
What's that? Yeah. Rising tide lifts all boats. Right. Tyler Mahan.
And I love that. Yeah. And that is absolutely true. You can help each other out. I don't really consider myself a competitor of other dealers, and I don't consider them a competitor of mine, because we can really help each other. There's enough out there for all of us, and we can actually help each other out. And all of us do better. Sell more sheds, help more customers, I would rather say, help more people with their storage needs or their backyard accessory structure needs, because it might not be a shed. Maybe they're after a gazebo or a nice pavilion or outdoor furniture, or maybe they need a carport, something to protect their RV or what have you. And we can learn from each other in learning how to do that.
Hey, Deanna, I need to write a new ad for Shed Hub. Give me some ideas.
Why don't you do something catchy like the insurance commercials do all the time, where they just repeat the same thing over and over?
Like a little jingle or something like that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be embarrassing?
That is kind of the point.
What type of music?
Try rap.
Shed Hub helps you sell shed.
Maybe country.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Rock and roll.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Maybe just go back to your normal writing style.
Shed Geek and Shed Hub are now collaborating to make for a better customer experience. I want to save you some money. Shed Hub is focused on signing up the next 500 customers. We're calling it the Next 500 Plan.
Real creative.
You think it'll help if I sing again?
I'd rather you not.
Well, that makes two of us.
So what's the Next 500 Plan?
The Next 500 Plan is simple. This will include 100 listings per month, per location, along with the Brand Builder website. And the plan will last for 1 full year.
But how do they save money?
It only costs $39 a month. There's never been a better time to sign up. Just go to geek.shedhub.com, click subscribe, enter your name, email, and payment information, and you will be contacted by a ShedHub employee to get you onboarded for just $39 per month. ShedHub helps you sell shed.
I love what somebody was saying to me the other day. They were like, you know, competition does make you better, but you know, collaboration works really good too. There's a higher calling. I tend to think that there's a higher calling to sort of what we're doing day in and day out, and what business we're in, and what the Lord would have us doing is just part of that. But we have a higher calling to just be better people. And somebody told me the other day, he said, I didn't know it was an industry. We just built sheds growing up. I didn't know there was a whole, I mean, you know, you don't think of it as more of an established, mature industry. And it's become that.
It has become that. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's something else I picked up on the podcast. It's something that was rolling around my noodle for a long time, but listening to the Shed Geek podcast helped me to, I guess, enunciate it better. That as an industry, you know, you can get into this and go out in the woods and cut down some trees and saw them up into lumber, and then take the lumber and build a shed, and then say, oh, now what I'm going to do with this shed, and then go out and market it, and then sell it, even do a rental contract on it, you know, take payments, buy here, pay here, whatever you're doing, and then, the customer bought it, now I've got to get it there, and then go and haul it, and set it up, and do it all, and then do all your accounting work, and all your other business work. But you're getting yourselves into a lot of different businesses, really, aren't you? Yeah. And to me, it's physics. You remember when you're in elementary school science class, and you get the teacher gets this little beaker of water, he gets a little eyedropper of food coloring, and drops it in there, and it's like concentrated, and you learn to process it to diffusion, and it goes outward. That's just physics. And I think this industry is the same way, where one person might do all those things I've said, the aforementioned tasks. They eventually start spinning those off. And I think probably the first one to go is the cutting down the trees, right? And that's the extreme example, and I'm sure there's
I'm with you.
There's probably some people out there that are cutting down trees and using their own lumber to build sheds, but let's just say that's a very small minority. But you're buying lumber from a place, and then you're going to hire an outside accountant to do that, because I'm terrible at math. I don't do math, and I'm good at paperwork, but I'm bad at it because I'm OCD, and I'm the king of procrastinators. Let's just put it that way. So you hire an accountant, right? Then you're concentrating on building and selling sheds, and at some point you got to make a decision. What is my core business? The core business, at the center of it all in this industry, to me, the way I see it, you may have a different opinion. I see as the core of this industry are the builders. Because without the builders, you don't have the sheds, right? Everything else is a spin-off, the hauling. So they might spin off the hauling aspect of it. And so somebody gets into the hauling business. They're not in the building business, not in the selling business. They're in the hauling business. Then you'll spin off dealers. So the dealers are in the sales business. They're not in the building business. They're not in the hauling business. They're not in the accounting business. They're in the selling business. And that allows the builders to concentrate on what they do really well. My vendor is certainly in that category. I've been asked for why do I sell it? Because I sell quality. If I didn't believe I had the highest quality building in this entire region, I wouldn't sell that, right? And so I've got to believe in that, and because they're really good at that. So that's where I think their core business is. That's what needs to be concentrated on. And if it was me, that's exactly the way I would concentrate on it. But they would collaborate, the learning process. If they're collaborating with other builders, they're picking up nuggets, right? They might be on the other side of the country, might be up in Pennsylvania,
That's right.
learning from some of these old order builders and picking up a new technique or a new feature that might do well here and add it to the inventory of options, for instance. And they're really good at that, and that helps me as a dealer sell a quality building and do a better job of meeting the needs of my customers and my potential customers, right? So I see that. I know in previous podcasts you've asked, where do you see this industry going? And consolidation seems to be okay. And I have to disagree with that, respectfully. I see it as an industry.
We'll edit that out. That's no problem. Just teasing. Go ahead. I want to hear what your thoughts are. You've got me. You've got me. So I'm laser focused right now on everything you're saying. So
it's more diffusion happening. I think they're either going to build, or they're going to haul, or they're going to sell, or they're going to do accounting, or they're going to be a supplier. Lumber, windows. If you want to go to Midco, or I just mention.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah,
or wherever you're getting your supplies from. LP, I will give Joe Nito a plug though, because he's our
Joe's
LP.
Awesome.
He's an awesome guy. When I see his Jeep pulling my lot, I'm like, bless God, today's going to be a great day.
We love Joe. He was so gracious to let us sleep. We were at his house. We went out to eat with him, did an episode right there at his house. But yeah, I mean, we parked our RV there overnight, and we just had a blast with him.
Yeah. But I see that fragmenting in that the specialty segments of the industry will continue to spin off, so that you're going to concentrate on one area. You're not going to be a builder and a seller. You're going to spin that off to dealers. But on the other hand, the consolidation, I think, will happen within those fragments. Shed haulers, for instance, might buy another shed hauler and acquire their trucks and their drivers. A builder might acquire, if there's another small shop in the area, there's not too many of those around here, but I've heard of places where there's a lot of small builders, and they're very small. Well, one might acquire the shop and the personnel and the equipment and the customer base and dealer list of the next one, and it consolidates that way. Dealers, might acquire another lot or just open another lot. And I think the consolidation will happen within those segments of the industry, but the industry itself will continue to fragment and specialize. That's just my take on it.
I love the way you broke it down. I like that because you do see some of that now, even with some of the larger haulers. I mean, running a whole fleet of 8 or 9 or 10 trucks, or businesses wanting to get away. And I don't think it's because they want to get away from shed building. If they grew up as a shed builder, some people are looking for opportunity in business to provide. Some people are looking for opportunity in business because they're passionate about what they do. So there's some shed builders out there that don't like what they're doing, and there's some that wouldn't do anything different. It just we all go through that, right?
Right.
And same probably in sales and hauling and everything else. And maybe you find something that you like more, and maybe you're being called to that. You should do that, right? But then at the same time, and I've said this before, I mean, with maturing of an industry is change, and we all insult change because we don't know. Typically speaking, we insult what we don't know. Technology is a perfect example. I know a lot of people who say it's stupid. Well, it's stupid because they might not understand it, or maybe
I'm old-fashioned. I like paper.
I didn't pick up a computer till I was 30, but then as I began to go through the painstaking process of learning it and making myself learn what doesn't come to me naturally, like math or like music. What did somebody say the other day? I think it was we was joking around at Fox Country Sheds, and somebody said, "What instrument you play?" I said, "I don't play any." And she said, "You're like me. I play the radio. That's the instrument I play." And I thought it was funny because, that's right. But
I play pretty mean kazoo.
Do you?
Yeah.
We want to get it on the podcast. So, but we just, we sort of insult what we don't know or understand. It's easy. So and a lot of times guys get into hauling, and the next thing you know, these apps are creating things they have to do that require more responsibility of them. Or in building, you know, you think you're making a situation easier by giving them a technology that goes beyond drawing a box on a piece of paper. But now they've got to think through that and figure that out. So there's a learning curve, and it takes a certain amount of time. Now some guys pick it up or gals pick it up just quickly. My son's a perfect example. I tell him all the time, he's 19. I'm like, he already knows more than I know in technology because he grew up in it. It was easy for him. Me, I know more than my dad did, right, in that area. But the point being, we just kind of criticize it if we don't understand it. A lot of these shed guys, they got into building and they were like, I don't want to get drug into these other worlds of.
That's right. And then so that's the tend towards specialization. But then on the same token, those who are engaged in a particular specialty, whether it's the building or the hauling or the selling, the dealers, they need to get together, you know, and
they can expand to that more,
yes,
and do better,
yes,
yeah.
And to do that, you really need to collaborate and get together and learn from each other.
I appreciate you.
Other dealers are not my competitors.
Yeah,
I'm learning from them, and hopefully, I can contribute a thing or two to them as well. And let me just give you one small example. There's a fellow that I used to work with when I was at Cherokee in the sales, David White. So let me give him a plug. He has a Cherokee dealership now in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And he does a really good job with metal buildings, carports and the like. But he told me once, James, I do great with the bigger metal buildings, but I have a hard time selling carports. Well, why is that? He said, because I don't have any. Now, bear in mind, he's got, I'm sure David will call me up when he hears this and correct me. It's like 6 or 7 larger metal buildings, and he can sell the stink out of those because it's what he has. And what he said that stuck with me is that you sell what you have. And he doesn't have the simple carport, so he has a hard time convincing people. He can sell them a cheap, simple carport because he has the bigger ones. It goes back to what we were talking about with the sheds, where I think it's important to have an example of different things, different styles, different options on your lot, somewhere on your lot, so that they can take from one and add to the other and put together what they want and what they need. Because you sell what you have. If you don't have something with a particular feature, say, then you'll never sell that. Because people are visual. I think that's why video has so much potential, not just in this industry, but just in general. We push story brand and storytelling and short form video content constantly, but our thought is primary communication is here in person with me and you. We go out to the lot, we look at it, but the visual aspect, I mean, that's why the 3D configurators came to be, is because it's kind of hard to explain to a person a mental picture if they're not equipped to handle the mental picture that you're trying to present. And you might be a bad presenter. You might be butchering it, trying to explain, or they just may be bad at receiving it. But words.
That's right. So there's a...
Hi, I'm Dylan from the Shed Geek marketing team, and I want to address a common misconception about marketing. Often people approach us for just one service, like social media management, where we plan and schedule your monthly posts. While this is a valuable time saver, it's just one piece of your complete marketing strategy, much like a shed with its various components. Let's simplify it. Think of your social media channels and Google My Business as the foundation, similar to the runners of a shed. They support your digital storefront, your website, which is like the floor joists and band boards. To enhance your marketing, you'll need tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, and Google Tags, which are like the walls. These tools help track the success of your campaigns, measuring form submissions, 3D shed creations, and phone calls generated by our ads. Now, let's talk about the roof. Meta and Google ad campaigns. These are the top layers that complete your marketing shed. While you may inquire about one specific service, remember, they all contribute to the overall structure of your marketing strategy. At Shed Geek Marketing, we're happy to work on one individual aspect, but our goal is to build a comprehensive marketing shed that will truly stand out in the digital landscape. If you're ready to talk about your marketing strategy that will take your shed business to the next level, just go to shedgeek.com and fill out a submission form or contact the Shed Geek for more information.
Everything that you're talking about, I had a point here that I wanted to tie back into this. There's a book I was reading called The Art of Letting Go, Stop Overthinking. And there's these, it's Nick Trenton. I enjoyed this book so much here recently that I thought about even buying some of these and handing them out. It's just sort of maybe a gift for like clients or so, something, I don't know, whenever they come on, but I enjoyed it so much because it talked about what is in your control, right? Someone reacts this way or does something, there's nothing you can do about that. You can only control the way you respond. Right. And I think it's that way in sales a lot of times. If the customer says, well, that's too much money, rather than get just super defensive right away, you can control your response as opposed to arguing with them. Right. That it is that valuable. Even though you're enthusiastic about that, you don't have to spend time arguing with them. I'd encourage you to read this book. It's really, really good. I love your thoughts. I love that you challenged the thought of what I've been putting out there on the podcast, and I'm going to go back and listen to this podcast more. I know, because I want to break down your thought a little bit more. You might be onto something there.
Within my own specialization, which is obviously as a dealer, that's why I think we need something that, I don't know, maybe form an association or something where dealers can get together. And I mean independent dealers, not builders and dealers. Because I put that in a different category because their core business is building, and the selling is almost a side thing. But I mean just pure dealers. People that don't build,
that can benefit from conversation, right? Without having to be so caught up in the idea of competition.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And because if they get this mindset of competition with each other out of their heads, then they'll better be able to open up and help each other out.
I just love one thing that you said when you mentioned, David, the fact that you guys communicate and talk as dealers. I know dealer networks that won't talk to each other or kind of see themselves as the enemy, and I'm thinking, you're selling for the same company, let alone, the other competition. So I just...
Or even other companies. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. The principles are the same. They sell what they sell because they believe in what they sell. I don't. I believe in what I sell. Yeah. And but a lot of the techniques and things can be the same. We can still learn from each other.
I have not even began to breach the cusp of who James is. The fact that you said that you play kazoo... you got a purple heart hanging here in your office.
That is not mine.
Okay.
It's. You want to know the story behind that?
Yeah, tell it.
It's a tough one. A friend gave me that in Alabama. He bought that at a yard sale for $0.25. I'm an Army officer. Mm-hmm. This was from a naval ensign. He gave it to me because he knew that even though I was Army and this guy was Navy, that I would respect him. If you read the citation, he received that Purple Heart for wounds received resulting in his death, December 7th, 1941.
Pearl Harbor.
And some yahoo sold it at yard sale for $0.25. And my son, who is now a naval officer, grew up with that, and his first station was at Pearl Harbor, and he made a beeline for the USS Oklahoma Memorial, which is the ship that this ensign served on, and took pictures of it. So ever since I acquired that, and somewhat after that, Facebook came to be, and I've been, December 7th, I would put a memorial to this naval ensign, Isaac Stern, and pictures of the Purple Heart. And the back of the medal has his name inscribed on it. But my son took the pictures of that particular memorial and the post with his name on it. And you mentioned my helper, Beth, which she cannot possibly get enough kudos. What the difference she's made to this business. But her father was there. There's a famous photograph that I think was on the cover of Time or Look or something like that. It's her father showing it from his back, but they knew who it was. He was 16 years old when that picture, when he joined. I think it was 15 when he joined the Navy, and 16 when the picture was taken. He lied about his age. For years, didn't even want to get the benefits because he thought he would get in trouble because he lied. So he didn't realize that many young men back in that day lied. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was there, and
says a lot that there was many young men that lied to go to war to fight for this country,
right,
as opposed to
what we have
maybe
today.
what we have today. I couldn't spend 2 more hours on this podcast and get enough good conversation in with you. We'll definitely have to have another conversation, whether I stop in person, whether we do something on Zoom. I don't know if my podcast has done the due diligence today.
Zoom, what's
I'm sorry. I'll have to explain. I'll have to tell you all about this magic program. I don't think that it's. Gosh, let me slow down. It's hard to get to know a person in an hour. A lot of people say an hour, that's a long time to talk. Not really. For me, not just me, but some of the guests. Whenever you're genuinely curious about what they're saying, an hour is not enough. And I don't know if our program today did the due diligence to show everything about who James is. In the short time that I've known you, I've grown just a very quick respect for the serious demeanor in which you can take in the process. But you're a joyous person to be around. Like just in the first hour that we talked, I so enjoyed talking to you. I mean, we were even in the RV talking about how you remind us of Deanna's dad, our father-in-law, and it was like, how we enjoy being around him because we laugh whenever we're around him. And I don't think that we did the due diligence today to show all of who you are, well-rounded. So I want to have you back. I want you to know that we really enjoyed having you on today. I know that you're a man of faith. I appreciate you saying so many kind things about the show. I promise I didn't pay him $1, guys, to say any of those things. Whenever you told me that you listen and you almost hate being interrupted, you're really focused on it. I mean, there's no words that can be said. There's some things you do that's not for the money. There's some things you do because you're trying to find purpose in your life. And whenever people tell you those things, sometimes there's those little tidbits that God reminds you, hey, you're on the right path. And, the Bible says that he'll place a song in your heart. And I used to always tell people, that song's not meant for everybody to hear. Sometimes only you can hear the song that he's singing to you. And you got your own song, James, and I got my own song. And whenever you say things like that, it'll do more to bless me than you'll ever know. Because when you're at the end of the year rope looking for purpose, and somebody tells you, hey, I enjoy listening to what you have to say and the program you put together, that's invaluable.
I just really use my experiences to help others. And if that blesses others,
that's right.
The praise goes to God,
yeah,
not to me.
That's right. That's right.
I haven't done anything.
You're blessed. You're blessed to be around, though. You absolutely are. Is it okay if we close in prayer? Did you have any shout-outs, anything you wanted to say, your heart clear, before we go? I know the hour just flies by. Most people think, oh, no, it's going to have over. And Deanna keeps telling me, you're going to have to slow them down. You're going to have to get back down to 50 minutes. And every time
we would come in so that the folks could be introduced to her. But that's who I need to give the shout-out. Because like I say, once she joined me at this lot, I'd become friends. I've been friends with her since 7th grade. I got to meet her late husband, and we became good friends. And then he passed away at least a year and a half ago. I guess a year and a half, probably pushing 2 years now. It's hard to believe. And he passed away, and her kids moved her back here. Of course, new widow. And I just told her, Beth, I need some help on the lot. Just come help me. You set your hours, whatever you want to do. If you can come in the morning, that'd be great, because I'm not a morning person. And that has been the best thing probably I've managed to do at this lot, both for me and for her. But she's been a tremendous asset here, and just so good. It just kind of reels me in sometimes when I'm doing something wrong. But
we all need that, and I've got my family that comes along with me when we're out traveling to help me do that. I enjoyed this way more than I knew I was going to. I want to know you more. Cherokee Structure's got a good one. Whenever they got James Wagner as a salesperson here for their property, and we're just gonna pray real quick, and like you said, anything worth doing is worth praying about, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right. Amen.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to meet James and Beth and just sit with them here in discussion. Ask that you would bless them and their sales lot and their business and Cherokee Structures as you move forward. Ask that you'd watch over. I'm reminded, Lord, today to ask you to watch over our military men and women as they're out there, and that it's so easy for us to forget that freedom isn't free, and it's so easy for us to forget the sacrifices that others make as we go on about our daily business and get busy. But that there's someone standing on the line, and that there's somebody there, and they're prepared to fight for us and for our freedom. So please watch over our servicemen and women. Ask that you'd watch over everybody in the industry, everybody represented here, every company here listening, and ask that you'd bless James as he moves forward into 2024, that you'd make it his best year yet, God. And we appreciate all that you do for us. We keep you first in all that we do. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.